everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Absolutely. My name is Benny from Comic Story, and that is Sal from Comic Pop, and that is Hassan from Hassan Kader. Kader Hassan. Hassan! Nope, don't look that up. Look up Hassan.
Yeah, thank you.
I'm drilling that into their head. Like, that'll be your new the catch. Hassan! No, not that. It's Hassan. We used to call ourselves, it's not the Weekly Poll, it's Absolute Comics. So
that's true.
It works. It does
work.
work.
It used to be that.
It's not Hassan Piker. It's Hassan Kader. Woo! There
exactly. It is. See? Yeah, so we all watched X-Men, and I want to talk about it.
Yeah.
So
let's do it.
Why don't we, our resident X-Men expert.
This guy.
I was gonna jokingly say it's Hassan.
I was gonna say, what a shame that I am the expert for X-Men here, because yeah, I've read a guy who read X-Men sometimes.
I think I'm more caught up on X-Men than you at this point.
Yeah. I think you have like a greater affinity and love for the characters than we do. I think we like
know
X-Men.
them well. Like like every time that something happened, I was DiCaprio pointing at the screen. I'm like, oh. They were like OZT. I'm like, oh.
I
remember that crappy event.
I fully forgot about Bastion, and you were like, "Bastion's here," and I had to like look it up while we were recording the last episode. Bastion,
like, who is that? It's like
okay,
nobody.
So I'll steer this discussion a little bit, guys. As you know, we talked about the show here and there across the week, the show's run, but obviously this is the entire run of the show, not just the finale. As a matter of fact, and I will get to this more, but I kind of feel like the finale was a little lackluster, but that's just me. We'll get to that. Overall, let's just start there. Yeah. What did you think about X-Men 97? We'll start with Hassan, since you're technically our expert.
That's true.
What did you think about this show? Because Hassan, I actually want your opinion, because you're the young guy here. You're barely 21.
Yeah, this show is for you. They created it for you.
Yeah. They you were
25.
Born
I'm no longer
show.
In the young man.
No, you're a little boy.
Look, I don't check the 18,
I turn 40 box. Tomorrow. You're a young man.
Oh my God, you're so old, dude. Yeah. Freaking old this guy is. All right, look, here's the thing. This show is really important to me as an absolutely being on it. Real important, real special. Ever since I've joined the cast of it, I have been forced to watch and review some of the worst crap I've ever had to watch. The comic book industry took a giant dump, and that dump was the content they were putting out since COVID. Yeah, there's some shiny little pieces of gold in the middle of that poop, but it's mostly poop. And then this show came around, and I was not on the reviews for it. I put it on of my own volition because I was like, art style, cool, want to see how it looks in motion. And I've just been baffled week after week after week. I watched X-Men back in the day when I was a kid, probably long after it aired. You know, it was like a cyclical rerun thing. You could sit there and watch a marathon of X-Men on, it was either ABC or Disney or whatever was airing it at the time. And I liked it. I liked it a lot. I have little tiny, couple inch figures, metal figures of all the X-Men characters at my parents' house. Loved it, but hardly any memories of it beyond just enjoying it, thinking it looks cool. This show is exactly what comic book fans want. It's between this and Invincible, where we want dramatic adaptations of comic book storylines with a little bit of, take creative liberties here and there and just punch it, rather than a comic book movie that uses the title of a great thing that happens in comics and then does their own thing, and 50-50 shot whether they improve upon it to the nth degree or they poop the bed like they've been doing. So I love it, especially the finale episodes. Oh my gosh, they've been incredible.
Yeah, the idea to make it a 3-part finale was a really smart move, given how many times that in the original predecessor it was like a 12-part series. Like they'd be like, "Oh, it's part 9 of the Phoenix Saga. Here we go."
See, that's what I wanted, though. I wanted this to really kind of have time to breathe.
I mean, it connects with itself, thankfully. So but I was not a fan of that. I wanted to be able to bomb in on the X-Men when I could, when I was a kid watching the show, and just kind of enjoy it at 22-minute intervals and then leave, and maybe occasionally have it call back. But this show improved upon the predecessor in such a dramatic way, where the old version, it was like almost a 1-to-1 from the comic books, but also, of course, they had to take like liberties from standards and practices to just the roster of characters they ended up using and the stories they chose to adapt. But they did this awful thing where it was like the show all connected and it was all part of one contiguous story, but also nothing could really change week to week because the cast was established in the opening credits. Like, you knew, well, opening theme, there was no credits, it was just names, but like you knew that no one was going to join or leave the X-Men at any point because, well, but their names were up in the thing. And I know they sent it to Korea because, like, you're a fan of animation in the 90s. And, like, there's no way that they're going to do that. But with this, they were like, no, yeah, we did this. We killed him. We replaced him with this. He's in the opening now. Like, it's everything I want from an X-Men. It's everything I wanted from an X-Men anything. Genuinely, like, it takes everything that I liked about the original show, which is a dynamite voice cast and compression with terrific animation and interconnectivity to the greater Marvel universe. Thank you.
I mean, I also enjoyed it as well. I do like the 12-part series, more true to the comics itself. My only major complaint, like if I got it, and it's more of a nitpick than anything, was the pacing. Things did feel like they went a little bit quicker. We had situations like Madeline Pryor showing up. She gets, goes evil, turns into Goblin Queen, and then next episode, she's on the console in Genosha. Like you're moving a little quick for my taste.
Certainly speed through, and there's certainly a way to like put in markers of how many months have passed, because a lot of time passes from episode 1 to the finale, and they don't do a great job of telling you when all that's happening.
That's right.
But I do think
that's what my complaint is. You're just supposed to guess. You're like, okay, but there's no way Madeline Pryor walked away from the mansion and then arrived in Genosha.
Right? Like Scott and Jean's tumultuous behavior with each other where they're like at odds, and Jean's kissing Wolverine, all that is happening. That's weeks and weeks after the Madeline Pryor incident. Probably months after a lot of this is happening. It's a slow burn. Doesn't feel like it because this show is really fast-paced. And I'm 50-50. Sometimes I kind of hate it. I wish we could spend more time with certain story arcs. And the other time I'm like, yeah, let's move. Let's keep the story moving. We don't have to drag our feet CW style where we have one villain for a whole 22-episode season.
Right?
We have to find a way to make him continue to be relevant in the story.
Yeah,
maybe break it into 3 parts, though. What if we did Goblin Queen and then we did like some Bridger middle stuff?
I mean, what else would you have happened with Goblin Queen? I liked the way it happened. Jean Grey got hot, and then
for me, I'm the same. Where it's like,
go ahead. I'll let you finish that.
Well, like Fatal Attractions. That story sucks. There's nothing you can do about it. I'm sorry. So what do? They take the thing you remember and they put it in. It's a blink and you'll miss a moment because it's only like 3 pages of full page splashes of what Magneto does to Wolverine. So do that. Put that in the show, and now we're done. We did it. We did Fatal Attractions.
Right.
Did we put acolytes in the show? No. Do we need them? Do we need Fabian Cortez? No. We're good. And it's like, I agree. It's the amount of cutting. It's amazing how judiciously and discerningly they cut what would work in the comic book or arguably worked in the comic book and would just not work in this show. I'm in awe.
Yeah.
I think the only other big like nitpick on the time span was the Gambit. We lose Gambit at 5. And I'm trying to remember what the episode was right afterwards, but it just yes, we've referenced it.
Yeah.
They jumped the Shi'ar plot line. It jumped
so we jumped away because of the death of Gambit. So instead of dealing with Gambit, I think it opened up and the X-Men are like, we lost Gambit. And then it's like, by the way, X-Men, Xavier.
Well, it's meant to be that cliffhanger, right? It's that slow burn without having to slow burn it. It's that, okay, let's burn the other side of the story. Let's go to the other candle. Let's go tell Professor X's story. That way you can sit with the fact that Gambit is dead. And then you can double back with our X-Men team grieving that, Rogue going crazy, and then the story moves forward that way. It's 50-50. If this is a brand new show, I'd love what you guys are asking, like what Benny's asking, where it's like a much more slow version of it. But because this is reimagining a show that's already existed, I love the way it's been.
Right.
Yeah, the next episode afterward is the sequel to the Storm and Forge plot.
Yes. There it is. Yeah.
So they moved over.
Isn't it intercut with the Shi'ar stuff, or
I think it is, because
wrong?
the Shi'ar stuff isn't referenced in any of these.
Well, it's Storm and Forge and Shi'ar.
Yeah,
I do want to say, now that we've seen the show, the thumbnail for episode 5 is almost a mean kind of thumbnail. It shows Rogue, Gambit both smiling with Nightcrawler, like almost like a photo that would be on someone's mantle of remember him?
Yeah. Yeah. Although, I mean, we're gonna get it. Nobody stays dead. He'll be back, but
especially Gambit of all people.
Oh yeah, and they alluded to it in this, but Motendo. After having seen the last 3 parts of this show, I'm like, this is amazing. You really didn't need Motendo.
I borderline skipped that episode. I
You
had
could.
it on in the background and I was cooking. It was the only one that did not grab my interest.
Nope.
Every other episode, ass and seat. My roommate, who isn't watching any X-Men, barely knows anything about X-Men. Every time the show was on in the background, he just like would be standing in the corner of the room and then slowly make his way, and then he's sitting on the couch, and then by the end of it, he's edge of his seat staring
Yeah.
at the TV.
He did the dad move where it's like,
Mhm.
what are you guys watching?
Mm. And then he's just
The
sad.
Yeah, Moten. By the way,
I thought it was. I
It's
actually
cute.
liked it though.
It's-
I did, exactly.
I liked
Yeah.
it when I watched it, but now that I'm
it
like,
reminded me more of Classic, where they would do these like one-offs with another member of the team. And Jubilee, who was such a pivotal part of the original series, really didn't get much to do with it.
no, it's true.
Yeah.
And I mean, like, look, this is the Christmas with the Morlocks episode of the series, where it's like, there's a Christmas episode of the original series. It sucks. It sucks on toast. It's a really boring episode, but it's also like the only Christmas episode of the X-Men you can enjoy. So people watch it, and when you do, you're like, it wasn't great, but for whatever reason, it's in the rotation.
Yeah.
And Motendo is one of those things where it's like, honestly, if Motendo was released as like a digital short, if they were like, because the other half of it is Life Death.
Yeah, which
they-
is then concluded in another part.
Exactly. So it's like if you had just taken all of Life Death, made that a full episode, and released and that, you know what I mean, and then come up with
So, but
something
the problem
else.
is Life Death encompasses an entire second episode. So I think the problem is Life Death wasn't enough for 2. So
Yeah.
they needed to fill the first half of something.
And there's no X-Men story that you could do faithfully that would satisfy people that would only be half an episode.
Yeah.
You know, like you could have, you know what, clearly there was a mandate in this where they were like, don't give Wolverine the spotlight. Like he had
At all.
like he had the
I
spotlight.
forgot he was there, and so like like he's barely around. The last bit, he's in the final fight. I'm like, right, Wolverine's here.
Dude, I mean, like that is Wolverine. Like Wolverine for the Claremont era is essentially he's there, and he, you know, and he threatens to kill people, and he'll leave, you know, but he doesn't really impact the team.
Because he's his own superhero.
Exactly.
Yeah, and he's got a terrible power set in the realm of all the other powers, like fighting.
Right.
That guy's got metal claws. This guy can control magnetism. You can't put him
even
against
in the
each other.
current era of X-Men. He was almost in none of the main X-Men books. It was in the Black Forest group
Right.
until he left it.
Yeah.
It was just in his own comic where it was, yeah, I go to Krakoa once in a while.
Yeah.
I fight for Krakoa's it needs, and that's what Wolverine's doing. He's not even here.
Right. But you could have done if you wanted to split the episode, he could have fought Sabretooth for 10 minutes.
Yeah. Or any of the Wolverine.
Like it could have been his
quick plots.
birthday, and he was like out, and then Sabretooth attacks him. Would have been pretty cool, but you know they were like, no.
Yeah.
Like
Right.
because also, you know, season 2 will probably make it Wolverine.
What about a
more exciting.
Wendigo plot? You just have him in Canada getting not beer because it's Disney, but something in a bar.
Yeah. No, they
Give
can
them
do
the
beer.
beer.
verse
No,
it.
they'd absolutely do beer. How
Yeah,
this
whiskey
was run?
what is it? Magneto's drink. Professor X is drinking a whole ass Stein in the last episode. So yeah,
Well,
no,
I'm just saying, like, you're right. I think if I had to pick a 15-minute part of an episode or 10-minute,
yeah,
Wolverine fight with any one of the things he's fought against.
yeah. But they also wanted to build up the whole Roberto da Costa Jubilee romance. Like they wanted to like reinforce that because they want it to be sad when he betrays the team and stuff. Even though two people betray the team, and then at the end of the episode, they're just the middle of the episode, they're like, "We're the X-Men," and then everyone's like, "Yeah."
It's like we're gonna let go of the fact that you just did what to us, Rogue. Rogue's like, for some reason, lights out whenever the thing went back on. Shut up.
Excuse me.
You just did what to us?
Right.
You just went to
She's
space
like,
and destroyed humanity with
right.
it.
Her moment where she's like, well, you know, you can't count out the X-Men. I'm like, well, you did. Let's ask Wolverine what we think about that. Oh, wait, I'm sorry. He's in a coma.
Yeah, maybe Morph will help. No, he's mourning the loss of his little lover. Okay, he's upset.
I did think that was you just reminded me of the Morph Wolverine thing. I did think it was a really sweet moment when he was like, she can't say it, but I will, and he turns into Jean to say that, and knowing the history of Morph and Wolverine from the original, I'm sitting there like, was that more Morph than Jean?
Oh, that was Morph. That was 100% Morph. That wasn't Jean. He wasn't comforting him. He was admitting his love for him.
Yeah, that's what I was saying. That's what I was like. I feel like that was more Morph.
Look, and I said this before the show started. That's Wolverine's best bet at this point. Okay, like there were 2 genes and he didn't get one of them. Now you have an opportunity to get the 3rd gene. You got to burst.
I always wondered why he never got one of the two. Like, there's always been two.
I know.
We still have Madeline Pryor doing shit.
Right?
And no one's like, should we just, she wants to bang all the X-Men, pick one.
Pick one. He does get her in Age of Apocalypse. In another reality, he loses the hand, but he does get Jean.
Great.
That Wolverine is back right now. I don't know if you've been reading Weapons X.
No.
It's actually not bad.
Oh my god.
Apparently I'm reading all the stuff you would normally read.
Yeah. But
Whatever,
yeah, Age of Apocalypse Wolverine's there. That's fun.
Age of Apocalypse, Zombie Wolverine, a fat Wolverine from the Ruins universe.
Oh God. I know that
God.
Wolverine, yeah. That's
and
amazing.
Jean calls upon them all to hunt down Onslaught through the dimensional rifts.
Okay.
And it's pretty fun.
That's
Because
ridiculous.
well, the reason it's fun is you go to her universe and you see the future of the X-Men, where they end up if everyone was happy.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, that's fun.
It's kind of nice. Look,
Oh, yeah.
guys, let's let's dig our teeth in the finale itself. That
I wanted to bring this up though real quick, and it's about the show. Costa, I will admit, I forgot entirely who Sunspot was outside of being the blacked out Sunspot character. The whole scene, I'm like, I wonder what his powers are.
Right. Yeah.
And then transforms into Sunspot, and I'm
I'm
like,
fairly certain
I'm an idiot.
he's had
Oh,
a
yeah.
couple recastings in the movie as well. He's one of those characters that's there, but is always like recast. I'm doing an X-Men rewatch with my girlfriend. She's watching for the very first time. We just passed Deadpool, so we've done Days of Future Past all the way back. Next we have the less good movies, and then Logan. I'm gonna watch Logan in the next
Yay.
week. Everyone be
I
excited. Stop
All right.
bullying me. But yeah, he shows up in that, and I was like, he's cool in the show. He's got a good vibe about him right now.
Yeah, I forgot entirely who he actually was until he used his powers, and I'm like, I probably should have known that.
I was like, this dude is invincible. Like, he should be able to do whatever. Like, I know who Sunspot is. I was like, he's cool. He's really dragging his feet, but when he finally gets his ass in gear, it's gonna be dope.
Yeah,
Hopefully, he'll
it
be
was the
Cannonball.
very ending.
Yeah.
I did like it. It was in the finale where he does that and flies.
Yeah.
And Jubilee's like, when can you fly? And it's like, oh, I've been practicing at the danger room. And then she's like, tries to fly as well. I'm like, nope, that's not a Jubilee thing.
Yep.
Not yet.
Sorry, Jubes.
Nope.
So, okay, finale.
Finale.
What did you guys think?
It's a great
Great.
finale.
Yeah,
It's a great finale.
Phenomenal. And it didn't make me feel like it was like there was no plan. You know, like I hate when it's like it ends on a cliffhanger, but you could tell they're like, we didn't write anything. Like, we got no plans. Like, like they set things up, they built it in, and then you're like, yes, okay, next up, I get it. Okay, I'm excited. I like
plot is this?
we're okay.
Is it age or not? I
Well,
was thinking
so
age.
we're building a lot of things. We could do, because we did the Professor X gets Magneto's imprint of his mind. Their minds get into Onslaught because of Fatal Attraction. So like we're building to Onslaught. That's one. The other thing is they went back to ancient Egypt and met Ensabanur. That's Apocalypse. Also, Apocalypse is in the present, and he's going to resurrect Gambit and turn him into Death, one of the Horsemen of the Apocalypse. Cool. We're going to eventually get to Age of Apocalypse. So that's another one they have to build towards. They also they're also doing Jean and Scott in the future. That's from the Adventures of Cyclops and Phoenix.
Yeah. Instead of what I always think of 90s Spider-Man where it would just end and it would be like, dun, 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 whatever. And then you roll the dice on what ends up happening next. They'll jump full. I mean, they'll just dive right into another book as if it had any preamble or setup.
Yeah.
Versus a show that I'm going to bring up animation superheroes, Young Justice, where they had a plan. It may have not been the plan that a lot of fans wanted to see, but they always had a plan in mind of where they wanted the story to go. They'd been planting seeds in season 1 that didn't become flowers until season 4.
Yeah.
And had they gone on, their dream of 10, 20 seasons, that show still would have been set up to go on pretty much endlessly because they were constantly putting in building blocks of a universe. And this show's doing the same. It's doing a really incredible job of that.
Yeah. No, I'm hyped. I love this show. I love the animation. I hope that they don't skimp on it to go forward because it's great. Is there anything else from the show? Because I mean, like, we've talked about the show and we talked about like Justice for Cyclops. Jean Grey's interesting now. Storm is amazing.
Yeah.
All the side characters are cool.
I have a question about Storm. I have always called her Aurora. They're calling her Roro, and I've always called her Aurora.
It's Aurora.
It's a Roro.
It's Aurora?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's
I've
Aurora.
always said her name wrong.
Roro.
No, you've been saying it right. It's Aurora Monroe. Just like in Marvel Rivals, they say Genosha.
Dude, no, Marvel Rivals, whatever. It's a Chinese company, so I will.
I'm like, hey Magneto, that ain't Genosha.
That's what I'm saying. I'll accept the Chinese translation.
Yeah, no, but this show,
this is the Disney '97 one,
well,
and
it's also in the eye of the beholder. Like, I mean, Princess Leia is pronounced Princess Leia only by General Dodonna in A New Hope. Billy D. Williams calls it Layer. It's just, I think Forge says Aurora for the first time in the show, or at least one of them.
He says Aurora. Yeah,
and he
calls her Aurora, and I'm like, that.
Yeah, he says Aurora. That's just how he pronounces it. But like, if you're from the East Coast, it's Aurora.
Yeah. Okay, that's what I thought, but I was totally thrown off.
Oh, I know.
So
Don't worry
I just
about
did an extra story, and I'm like, whatever, because I'm tired of idiots who tell me that the show's doing it right. We're gonna call it Aurora now, I guess.
Yeah, and he has just got PTSD from the many things and names that he has mispronounced over Comic Storian. Because I'll tell you, growing up as a fan, I'd be like, why is he saying it like that?
Okay,
Oh,
How is he possibly missing it?
And here's the issue, and this is why I was like, oh god, it's happening again. I'll make these videos before all the stuff you watched came out.
Yeah.
Where there's no way to pronounce it other than what is in your head.
Yep.
Then the show or movie comes out, and everyone's like, you're saying it wrong. Case in point, Roz versus Ra's al Ghul.
Yeah.
That one's tough. That one still is. What is it? Ra's and Batman, Roz and Arrow. There's 1,000 different freaking pronunciations. Nobody
that's the easiest one to say it how you want, and everyone gives you a pass.
Yeah.
But everything else that because the shows and movies didn't exist.
Yeah.
Like you got to think. I started Comic Storian when Avengers was our peak, and we were done. Like Avengers won.
Yeah. No, but it also helps with engagement. Why not? You can correct me.
I've done
Feel
that
free.
sometimes too. Yeah, I've done that too.
But yeah, no, I'm hyped. That said, the implications, like this show could be a great template for their own interconnected Marvel universe and projects, and I have to assume that if they were to
so many superheroes,
they showed so many, especially that finale. They were like, throw them all at the wall, and I'm like, yes.
Daredevil showed up. I'm like, Daredevil, Iron Man,
and Dagger are in this
show.
show.
Dagger, I'm
crazy.
Is this referencing their Hulu show? Because no one else is.
Oh hell no!
Okay,
but like
the world's going to shit. And Spider-Man
Dagger showed up as Spider-Man. I think that's the only spot they ever showed up.
Yeah.
Well, dude, Spider-Man shows up in this in his civilian garb with Mary Jane, which confirms he did end up finding Mary Jane. Which
felt good. As much as I look at the end of the Spider-Man '94 series, he's gonna go to another universe to go get her with Madam Web. There's no adventure there.
Mm-hmm.
Madam Web goes, here you go, and then that's the end of it. You don't need that. If you want to do a Spider-Man follow-up, which I think if Marvel is smart in any way, Spider-Man '97 is next.
Oh yeah.
And if it is, skip the Finding Mary Jane plot and just do this with Spider-Man. Like, just grab every Spider-Man story you can and go like these.
Here's what I would do: wrap up the Mary Jane plot in the first episode.
Yeah.
Just button it.
Right? You could do, or at least like set it in, like doing it in media res. Like he's doing a story that you're adapting that like doesn't matter, has no substance, like Torment, where he's fighting the lizard and he doesn't know what's going on. And then you do flashbacks where like he passes out and it shows him going to get Mary Jane in the multiverse.
Because if they come out and just skip it.
Yeah,
everyone's gonna be like, "What happened?"
Yeah, people complain. They're like, "I like the show, but I wish they just answer the question of where Mary Jane was." They don't care. They didn't know. It doesn't matter.
We didn't care. As fans, frankly, he was cooler when she wasn't around. He was with Black Cat, and that's the most muscly version of Black Cat we ever
All you need to do is this.
She's so great.
Intro of the show. They come out of the portal,
right?
Landing, and he's like, "Wow, Mary Jane, I can't believe you were there. Oh well, we're together again."
Hands back to Madam Web.
He was like, "Boy, that He can say like they get out of the portal and he goes like, "It's nice that Bat guy to help you out. Anyway, let's go." And then to say we're never gonna see that.
Yeah.
Damn.
So, but yeah, no, I would love to see a continuation. I'd also like to see a proper Avengers show.
Oh yeah.
Here's the thing.
Make a show. Like here's another thing. Why do you think we got T'Chaka and not T'Challa?
Dude, people were really angry about that, and they were tweeting left and right that like just because Chadwick Boseman passed away, Marvel doesn't mean we can't use T'Challa in our other media.
Yeah, what?
Oh no, T'Challa's in Rivals. I think that here's my theory on that. And I do know what you're going to say. The complaints they're making. I think that's the potential for a Black Panther show.
Right.
Because if he's already an authority, you now don't get to tell that story.
That's true.
Yeah, so here's the other thing too. I think a lot of people are pulling this James Gunn tweet. Somebody tweets at James Gunn about X-Men 97. They're like, "Oh my god, can we get, X or Justice League animated, remastered, whatever? Like, can we get a continuation of that?"
Yeah.
And he says what makes it so great is that it comes from this creative place and it isn't just a repeat, steal an idea, cash grab, whatever, which people are using that whenever anyone on Twitter brings up, "Oh my god, let's do Spider-Man 94. Let's do let's do this. Let's do an Iron Man show again, but this time make it better." Like, so it's 50-50 shot. I hope Disney learns lessons from this. I hope they've taken you never know, because sometimes they learn the wrong lesson.
This could be our animated universe finally.
Yeah, it could be. And that's great. It's a great idea. Hey, we actually did it right the very first time we did it. Maybe not the very, very first time, whatever. We did it right way back in the day. We've done it kind of poorly since then. We're just going to use what we did back in the day and people are going to love it. And then allow a universe to evolve, expand, grow, die, whatever, instead of having a perpetual continuative narrative where characters refuse to grow forever.
Yeah. Well, it's funny because like this is not the show they would have made in 1995. Like
no.
This is taking everything that like they've learned in 30 years, 40 years and executed it. Like it just takes the character, it takes like some of the foundational stuff, like the world building that we didn't necessarily even need, but it helps to garner nostalgia and good faith from the audience immediately. But I mean, like, it's written completely differently than the old show. It reminds you of that show, but it is elevated. Like, it is. Yeah. This show is better than the old X-Men show.
I know, I agree 100%. Because the old X-Men show it never hooked me to the point where I wanted to sit down and watch it. Like,
I mean, it hooked me at children. Like, if you were a kid.
We're a kid. That's because I even say that in my video where I'm like, look, I was a Batman the Animated Series fan, not because I was making time for it. My dad wanted to make time for it.
Right.
So I caught Spider-Man occasionally, but I never sat down and watched X-Men from beginning to end.
That's fair.
I was at the age where these were coming out where I would watch some of these episodes over and over and over. And like, that's how I know I was a child. Like Spider-Man 94, I watched the episode where it's the little girl who's in the hospital and Peter like takes her on an adventure. I watched that episode. I couldn't tell you how many times. So many times it is ingrained in my memory more so than anything else in that series. But that's how young I was. And that show was gripping. This is gripping for me as a 25-year-old adult.
Right.
Yep.
Incredible. And I think that, we've had that discussion how many times where Disney keeps trying to make content marketed specifically for children. And that's why, like, the Ultimate Spider-Man, the most recent Spider-Man cartoon have been poorly received because they just don't have anything for adults to sink their teeth into.
Yeah.
I think you could put this on for a kid and maybe they don't understand the greater themes and narratives, but they like the colors and the art and they like the characters and they'll still love it. But for adults, like, we can rave about it. We can review it. We can have theory videos on it. But we'll buy the expensive $100 figurines. The kids buy the $25 Walmart figurines. Like, this could work.
You're not wrong. I mean, speaking of the Spider-Man shows, the Ultimate Spider-Man cartoon that everyone likes to shit on, I actually found when they did the plots, their takes on them were really good. But every time I'd be getting into the show, they would break away and do this weird chibi cartoon thing, and I'm like, now it's a kid's show.
It would, and their continuity was all over the place, because I remember when they were the first ones to put Miles Morales to screen, and they had the iconic, incredible Donald Glover voicing him, and he has this really good, it almost feels like he's in his own show, where he's a much cooler Spider-Man, and it's a really great dialogue back and forth with him and the Drake Bell Spider-Man.
Yeah.
And I love that. And then that iteration actually flowed right into, the Spider-Verse comic that was happening at the time, the very first one.
Yeah, Spider-Verse.
Yeah, because they were in like the Dune buggy together with TV Spider-Man and actual Miles Morales.
Yeah,
I would love to have all that folded in again, but they kept doing the chibi thing. They kept doing the little kid thing. Yeah. They kept doing the slapstick humor. They refused to acknowledge continuity, and they would sprint to storylines to get characters with looks rather than that. Like Agent Venom pops up.
I was gonna say Agent Venom is the best example where we skipped what made him Agent Venom just so we can have a guy in the Agent Venom suit.
Yes.
Yeah.
So then we just had a bully guy instead of like, somebody who redeemed himself elsewhere in war.
He wears the Scarlet Spider costume in that episode too. Whatever reason, not Eddie Brock, Flash Thompson wears it. A lot of gripes with that show. Yeah. This is the format for us,
Yes.
this is it. And I like Christopher Daniel Barnes. You could bring Christopher Daniel Barnes back. We'll take him any day of the week. That'd be crazy.
Yeah, please. Like I want this for everything. It's like, you know, I'm a Spider-Man guy. Obviously, Spider-Man 97 I think makes the most sense to do. But I'll take Fantastic Four 97. I'll take Iron Man 97. I'll take Avengers 97. Like I'm in. Like do we think
this is going to lead to cameos in the next season?
Yes.
Obviously, like actually with them, like Rogue working with Captain America.
I mean, yeah. I mean, we already had, like, they cast a Captain America. Iron Man suspiciously quiet because he has a very like distinct voice from the original cartoon. They put him in the 90s look. Clearly they're like, we're gonna. I think that they deliberately didn't cast any, because they could have had any of their fun like voice actors in the booth record an Iron Man voice, but for them they're like, no, we are planning. Like I think that the
Spider-Man doesn't talk either, right?
He doesn't talk. And yeah. I think that anyone who doesn't talk, they have plans or at least intentions to use in the future. I mean, everyone that, Hulk doesn't talk, Reed Richards doesn't talk, but Captain America does. So it's like, well, we have Cap.
I think Daredevil does.
Does he?
He says a line.
He has an insane voice in the original Spider-Man cartoon, so I'm glad. I would be okay with them finding another voice.
For some reason, I feel like he said something, but he may have just done.
I think he just looked around. I don't think but like, yeah, anyone who says anything is cast. Anybody who doesn't, they're like, maybe. But yeah, and listen, go ham on it. I'm down. Like and listen, if you don't want to do like a show, because look, I understand it's asking a lot. I just named 5 shows. It took what 2 or 3 years to make this one season. Take it easy on yourselves. Make 90-minute movies with this animation style that are adaptations of seminal Marvel events that feature some of these characters.
I mean, that would be your Disney Plus seller finally. I guarantee you put the budget into the animation. You don't have to blow it out with a $200 million budget like She-Hulk. You can do a more realistic budget, but give them a budget.
Yeah.
And you could have your Disney Plus selling it arm. Yeah. You could do this animation, this style.
Yeah.
My only complaint with the animation is I wish it was more updated. But that might just be because I watch a lot of animated projects.
Did you really feel that way? I thought
I loved this.
The only one that stood out. The only one that stood out for me that really just seemed to not fit was Magneto with the older look. And when he had with the longer hair and everything, when they showed him younger in the finale, I was like, that still looks like him. I just think it was too much of an attempt to make him look how he's supposed to look from the 90s.
Right.
And I just didn't think he blended with the animation as much as
really. I just thought he looked hot. I didn't think much.
Yeah.
But imagine it was hotter. He could have looked at better animation.
I think this show looked incredible. I think the animation was top tier. I was
for Western animation. This is beyond anything that we've done.
Oh, yes. Especially superhero animation. I was going to say, when you compare it to any of the recent DC projects where the animation took a nosedive.
Oh my God, it took a crap. That stuff looks horrific.
Yeah, it does.
Oh yeah. But when you compare it to like top tier anime, now this doesn't look too great.
Right.
So that's more where I'm looking at it. You know what I mean?
This looks fun.
Yeah.
I compare it's
again. It's a nitpick, Sal. I'm not sitting here like I will not watch season 2 because of the end. No, it's a nitpick. It's like I said, it might be because I watch too much animated stuff.
It could be. I don't.
So I have a lot to compare it to.
Because I'm not a fan of the Invincible animation. And
I don't like that one.
That one
feels cheap.
That one is cheap, and it's rocking with such an incredible storyline, and like the storyline has been great. And they spend a lot of money on a few moments, and it's great. It's like what's the Japanese term for it? Sakuga, but we're getting it in America where one animator gets to spend 2 months working on something while all the rest spend a week working on everything else, and you get this incredible, breathtaking thing.
That's funny.
You get that in Invincible, to a much lesser degree. Like if you watch the Adam Eve special.
Yeah,
that animation is through the roof, incredible. And then you watch the whole season, and it's like, okay, we have some moments. Some of it looks like trash, but again, I think the writing of that is absolutely in line with the writing of this, in the sense of they're grabbing these comic book storylines, they're making them better, they're adapting it to the medium they're pulling them from, and they're putting it to screen. Why have we taken 25 years to get here? Like, what's happening?
I don't know, especially because like we were doing it. Like DC was eating their lunch with the Justice League Unlimited series.
Yeah.
But anyway,
and they were eating their lunch with their original DC movies.
That's right. Those animated movies. We were like, now that I remember us having a show where we were like, oh my God, now that Disney owns Marvel, we're gonna see them like use Pixar and Disney Animation to make Marvel projects, and they just effing did. This is the first time they've done it since 2016.
They made Big Hero 6.
They made Big Hero 6, which looks great and is fun, but is also severely divorced from the Marvel universe.
It's interesting because it used to be that constant argument of DC animated is amazing, but Marvel movies are great.
Yeah.
And now we've just gotten to the point where DC just doesn't have anything under their belt. Like, I haven't even watched the Crisis movies that came out.
I
I'm
watched
probably
the first
gonna watch
one.
a
I have
clip
not
of
watched
it.
more of them. I need to watch the rest.
I catch a clip every now and then on TikTok that gets me excited. We'll see like Terry McGinnis with his original voice actor back. It's like, oh, this is crazy. I gotta watch this. And then you'll hear Jensen Ackles, who's this incredibly talented actor, probably have to be directed for this terrible one-note delivery Batman.
Oh my God.
And he's like the main Batman, and I just immediately fall out of it.
Yeah.
Altogether. So I'm going to try it at some point, which that can be our thing. Marvel versus DC animation reviews. Because, I mean, Marvel firing on all cylinders with this show. Personally, I hate What If's art style, but that's really personal to me. I just could not get behind it.
I can watch it,
like
but I don't like it.
One. Yeah, I can watch it.
I don't like CG animation, like to that level of like What If, where
the only way to do it correctly is Ninja Turtles and Spider-Verse. That's CG.
But they add a flair to it.
Yes.
The stuff like What If has looks like a poorly made video game or something, or what AI's churning out right now. If you just
it looks just like an AI churned out project, and it bugs me. Obviously, it was like before we had AI the way we have it now for season 1. But imagine, like in my brain, I'm like, what if looked like this show?
Oh my God,
like X-Men '97. How crazy and world breaking that would have been.
Yeah.
But
But all right, guys, I'm gonna close out the episode because now we've been all over the place.
We're done.
So, but hey, if you didn't know that's what this show is about, where have you been?
Truly.
Anyway, I'm Benny from Comic Story, and that is Sal from Comic Pop, and that is Hassan Kader, not Hassan, but Hassan Kader. Make sure you search the right name. And we are absolutely check back every day, every week for new content. Thank you so much.